Hello, team. Welcome back to another Line War cast. Well, here we go. valithor2 is going to spawn right here. We can see the blue little square. This is your map. Our game today is between valithor2 in blue, as we mentioned, and KrazyFlyinChicken, who will be in red. I don't know where KrazyFlyinChicken is going yet. We'll see as they pop up here. The picking phase is almost over. So valithor is going to spawn on these two gases in the south. The map kind of in the north is pretty sparse actually. It looks like a lot of stuff is in the south. So KrazyFlyinChicken does the bridging strat where they bridge across this landmass by selecting this ocean territory right here. 4 barracks and a factory on the way for KrazyFlyinChicken, who immediately would have seen valithor, and maybe this will be enough, but I'm interested to see how valithor follows this up. And it's going to be a classic patented double airport opener from valithor. Commandos right off the bat out of this one barracks, a factory for valithor. So it's 2 airports, a barracks, and a factory for valithor. KrazyFlyinChicken, 4 barracks and 2 factories, and here comes a second factory for valithor. I mean, valithor does know that this is right here. We can see if there's any idea of the buildings. There is not quite yet. valithor is going for helicopters. There's these 2 safe gases, and this map is pretty decent for helicopters, really. If you can keep them alive, the key to helicopters is always if you can keep them alive and not let them get tore up by SAMs, they're going to be in a great position. Like, and over time, you're going to be able to get a ton of them. And helicopter swarms are very strong. Income 384 for valithor and two. Wait, did I see this wrong? 284 for both, maybe? Yeah, 284 for both. I'm like, there's no way valithor has 100 more at this point. These infantry exchanges are really important. This could be big if KrazyFlyinChicken can get on top of this barracks. valithor realizes that this barracks is under risk of getting taken out, pardon me. So 2 squads going to back it up. It'll be kind of close. I think ultimately valithor will hold it. And that's pretty big because you don't want to lose a building this early. I don't know if KrazyFlyinChicken can see this commando. Okay, definitely can. There's enough units around it. And this is the right call from KrazyFlyinChicken. Just target command this barracks. I think this is definitely the right call because it's 150 cost or 208, pardon me, cost for a barracks, and infantry. I mean, it's probably like 7 infantry or something that is worth 1 barracks. So even if you lose like pretty much all these infantry, this is a pretty good trade for KrazyFlyinChicken, who's expanding on the top side. 2 helicopters for valithor. We can see if valithor is going for more helicopters. It's artillery out of both the factories. And I don't think valithor has any idea of the buildings quite yet. 2 artillery pieces from KrazyFlyinChicken. And that's what we're developing right now. And I wonder if this artillery is going to just start pushing across this field. I don't know if that would be the best call. It's kind of scary, especially because valithor does have helicopters. So 1 SAM coming out for KrazyFlyinChicken, but still more artillery, which I guess is going to be needed to stop all this infantry if it decides to push. Lines-wise, more development in the top for KrazyFlyinChicken. 2 barracks is going to be like a good amount of barracks to be able to cap everything in the north. But valithor, I kind of like this position, because there's only going to be 1 SAM, 368 income for KrazyFlyinChicken, and 356 for valithor. If there's only 1 SAM with 4 helicopters, you can start picking away, like picking off 1 SAM at a time. I don't know if 4 helicopters is going to be exactly the amount needed to kill that SAM, but the idea remains the same. If the SAMs are in such small numbers, you just pick them off, and then the next time you go in, there's no SAMs to deal with, and the helicopters are even more useful. These infantry, it's 7 infantry to kill 1 helicopter. So if these 7 infantry were to just sprint underneath the helicopter, they might be able to get 1, especially with the help of this SAM. But this is like at the beginning of the game, what I mentioned about if you can keep the helicopters alive, it's huge. If you don't let them die to SAMs and keep them alive, you can get a lot of value out of them over time. So valithor pulling back from the SAM, that's huge. This is a really cool graphical thing we got going on. Digging through the bottom of the map. On the north, KrazyFlyinChicken should have more economy. 392 for valithor and 416 for KrazyFlyinChicken because there's all of this top part of the map, and it's generally open field, especially on the left side. I mean, these infantry have to go through a forest. We can see on the tooltip that as they move through the forest, they get a speed reduction, so they don't cap as quick and make as much money as quickly. Valithor's really on no barracks at this point, right? Are we seeing this right? Yes, so Valthor's not. This is actually really interesting because I wonder how this is going to go. Certainly, KrazyFlyinChicken's going to get more economy quicker in the north. And Valthor isn't building a barracks yet. And the infantry are the most efficient capping unit in the game. So I wonder if right away we're going to go for a barracks as Valthor. Like, do you need. The question becomes, do you need to restart the economy? And I guess the answer is yeah. Commandos would be big. Interesting. Okay, so it's going to be commandos along the back. This is definitely a very solid defensive setup from KrazyFlyinChicken. Although with 4 artillery pieces, I mean, they would outrange this infantry and be able to chip away at them. The new patch means that these infantry can hang out for a little bit longer in the entrenchment and not take as much damage from artillery. And with these 2 factories, KrazyFlyinChicken might be able to get up enough artillery to just be able to defend this outright. This is why Valthor's taking this outside route, because there's no artillery on the right side. I mean, Valthor sees clearly, like, there's no way to push the middle. You don't want to get your entrenched artillery, like, start fighting entrenched artillery with your own artillery. It's just not going to be a good trade. 452 economy for Valthor and 488 for KrazyFlyinChicken. And I don't think I'm going to be kind of surprised if Valithor can push through with just the artillery. Definitely if the planes got involved, there's enough helicopters here now that they could do a lot of damage, I think. I mean, that's 8 helicopters, and there's 4 or 3 SAMs. The SAMs might be getting dug in, which is really good, because SAMs will then be more resilient to the helicopters. But this is where the helicopters are going to just shred for a second. On the right side, Valithor trying to pull the infantry in front of the artillery, or at least around the artillery, so that the infantry of KrazyFlyinChickens can't just get on top of the big guns like this. It's actually a lot of factory units that KrazyFlyinChicken's going to be able to push with themselves. And these helicopters are now in the position of, like, trying to shoot the infantry to defend the artillery to stop this push. 3 SAMs could do a lot of damage to these helicopters, especially if they get like 1 or 2 right off the bat. Not even 1, very lucky. I guess it definitely wasn't the range needed. Good pullback from Valithor. 500 income for Valithor and 600 for KrazyFlyinChicken, who's also sitting on money. So certainly momentum-wise, KrazyFlyinChicken has the momentum at this point, especially with the economy. That's an airport first of KrazyFlyinChickens, building it very close to the water's edge. There's no real way that docks are going to come into play for Valithor here, and if they do, KrazyFlyinChicken's going to be able to see that and react accordingly. I mean, this is a very, very small ocean, really. Ocean's not, it's a lake. It's a lake. That's the geographical term for it. 1 gas for KFC. I can't. How do I not? Why have I not been calling them KFC? Either way, KrazyFlyinChicken only has 1 gas. There's no need to have 2 gas because there's no gas units for them. 5 SAMs now against this many helicopters. And you can see just how quick the helicopters take out these SAMs. If the SAMs were all together and fought longer together, they might have killed every helicopter. As it stands, Valithor gets 2 out that really I thought were going to be in a lot of trouble. But they've taken out enough SAMs that the next time these helicopters launch, they're going to do a ton of damage. It's even more helicopters from Valithor. We can see where the commandos are getting. These actually changed to be infantry. And really, KrazyFlyinChicken must have such an econ lead at this point. 560 for Valithor and 692 for KrazyFlyinChicken, who's doubling down on this side of the water, of the lake. I think they can, especially if these planes get up in time, they're going for interceptors. KrazyFlyinChicken is going directly for interceptors to try to deal with these helicopters and help deal with these helicopters. This is a very bold push from KrazyFlyinChicken, especially since this barracks or this factory part of me isn't quite up. valithor has a ton of units, but with all these helicopters, I think valithor is actually going to get a pretty decent trade here, at least. The third factory is interesting for KrazyFlyinChicken. If that can get up and putting out units, valithor doesn't have a third factory yet. This is where helicopters get hard to use. I mean, I would lose every single helicopter right now if it was one of my games. 2 helicopters as it stands isn't that bad. And I stand corrected. I thought with all those helicopters that this push was actually going to work for valithor. There's another barracks. There's a barracks on the left. valithor's starting to kind of get back going with like barracks to cap and make more money. Although 644 income for valithor and 776 for KrazyFlyinChicken. So KrazyFlyinChicken is still doing great. Factory in the back for KrazyFlyinChicken. I wonder what's going to come out of those. Another helicopter goes down for valithor. I almost feel like with these SAMs, they need to stop moving and just like fight, because there's no way they're going to be able to get away from the helicopters. Yeah, so now this becomes weird. valithor has no SAMs, so there is one interceptor that can start trying to fight these helicopters. And with just a few more helicopters, valithor might even be able to just kill the interceptor, if it's just one. Another factory for KrazyFlyinChicken. I wonder where that one is. Okay, so it's in the left here, because KrazyFlyinChicken sees that contact's been made for valithor. Here comes the interceptor. Interceptors, I believe, do just as much damage to helicopters that are on the ground as they do when they're flying. So this interceptor really should be able to kill at least one of these helicopters, if it targets it. 860 income for KrazyFlyinChicken. Who gets one of the helicopters almost? Not even. Wow, this helicopter gets out. And this is great for valithor. I can't imagine that this many infantry and artillery are going to be able to do anything yet. And KrazyFlyinChicken knows and backs up. I mean, in the air, that's a lot of helicopters that KrazyFlyinChicken just took out. With 2 interceptors and 2 SAMs, or 3 SAMs or whatever, that's actually a decent hit at the helicopters. So there's still 3 helicopters. This is the strength of them, though, is that valithor can rotate them to the left side very easily. Because that's going to be a huge part of the map. I mean, really, on the right side, it's not like there's going to be much of a fight besides this choke. This would be big if these units of KrazyFlyinChicken can actually kill this barracks, because they probably can. This is very big for valithor. I mean, it's enough artillery that they're probably going to get one of the buildings, although there's no infantry cover for these big guns. So they might be in over time in trouble. 800 income for valithor, 920 for KrazyFlyinChicken, who puts down their second airport. I wonder what sort of planes are coming out of that airport. I can't imagine it's more interceptors, but it might be. KrazyFlyinChicken does not see that barracks. It's in the forest, and so that is enough stealth bonus that those 3 infantry can't actually see it. On the left side, I think valithor has the upper hand here. Like, they don't have as much of the territories, but with the helicopter support, that's pretty big. These interceptors from KrazyFlyinChicken, I mean, this is about as far as they can go, which I guess in this case is going to be far enough. But with a helicopter swarm that could start popping up, and then also valithor has 3 barracks, that is a decent amount to cap that left side. I wonder how that's going to play out. This many big guns from KrazyFlyinChicken, who still has 3 factories. I mean, that's a lot. That's technically more than valithor has in their main base. So, like, in theory and ideally, KrazyFlyinChicken is going to actually produce more factory units. So this ground army is going to be quite large. This, I feel like, is a... I don't know how this is going to work out for KrazyFlyinChicken, because I think the 4 infantry would probably live longer in the entrenchment rather than fighting the artillery. But maybe if all four of them fought, they would be fine. I'm not really quite sure. Either way, this is interesting because third factory from Valithor, so over time, Valithor's going to be able to match this production. And if KrazyFlyinChicken overextends here, Valthor's gonna very easily like crush this army and then kill all this production. It'll be very tough for KrazyFlyinChicken to defend these buildings. 1052 income for KrazyFlyinChicken, 872 for Valthor, who also has a lot of money. Here's another factory. So this kind of puts KrazyFlyinChicken on a little bit of a timer here. What's this push gonna do? And if it fails, and when it fails, because you know, as KrazyFlyinChicken gets away from their base, the reinforcements take longer to get in here. There's still tons of helicopters for Valithor, so these SAMs have to be in a perfect position. But it's going to be very hard to manage a push like this. We can check the rest of the map. Some artillery, one SAM piece out here for KrazyFlyinChicken. I like that that's there. This factory is building artillery to kind of do a defensive line. I think this one's really smart. I mean, it is a very good defensive line because it's going to block commandos like this and cause, like, there's no way Valithor would be able to get out of here if this was a full blockade. This is kind of what I mean about the overextension, because these helicopters, the SAMs are just like a tad bit out of position, sort of. If they all get out, it'll be great. Definitely two helicopters are going down. I'm gonna be shocked. Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good pullback from Valithor. This is I guess like how to be a heli god, is just get the helicopters out of there. Like this is kind of a push and pull situation, but over time Valithor has 4 factories here. Another barracks for KrazyFlyinChicken. I mean, I like this. I can't imagine building more barracks is bad. Infantry are super versatile at this point. It's the left side that concerns me from KrazyFlyinChicken. I think Valithor is going to be able to manage this left side a little bit better. These commandos are going to be huge. The helicopters on the left, these helicopters alone are going to be able to get at least one of the buildings. Another barracks going down for KrazyFlyinChicken. I like that it's reinforcing this left side. It's very important. KrazyFlyinChicken has tons of money and the income looks good. They're making 318 a minute at almost 1,200 total. Valithor is making 230 a minute at 1,000 total. So still in the driver's seat. Like KrazyFlyinChicken still has a pretty enormous lead right now. Valithor's getting out their own SAMs, so that'll help with these interceptors, which fall very easily to SAMs. It's enough artillery that Valithor's going to push back, although with 3 helicopters in from KrazyFlyinChicken. I mean, these 3 helicopters are going to do great against their artillery. This is a perfect number of SAMs for dealing with a handful of helicopters. I mean, that's a very expensive interceptor. Interceptors kind of like helicopters. They're kind of flimsy against SAMs. And when I say kinda, they are very flimsy against SAMs. Valithor is getting commandos in on that gas. Another commando here is certainly going to reach the airport. We heard Valithor go for another factory, and it is on the main production. And these commandos are through. So I think we're starting to feel a little bit of a momentum shift. KrazyFlyinChicken going for this gas. It must be uncomfortable for KrazyFlyinChicken to have to build such a crucial gas on this side of the water. Because I don't think KrazyFlyinChicken knows that this base is right, like Valithor's base, the development of it, how many factories there are, how big it is, what the deal. Like on the left side, Valithor's, it's only commandos, but still in a decent spot. KrazyFlyinChicken is floating 1k right now, 1232 income. And Valithor has almost 1100 with 500 monies. Sometimes it's good to float the money because you aren't actually, by not building anything, you'd have to pay the upkeep cost associated with that building or those units. So it's not always a bad thing, but I wonder what the plan is. These commandos are going to be huge. Like, these ones alone are getting annoying. Bottom right, Valithor almost has the entire bottom right. I mean, I guess there's still a few minutes to go here. But safe to say, I think there is a momentum switch. 1150 income for Valithor and 1280 for KrazyFlyinChicken. So that's a lot better than valithor was doing in relation to KrazyFlyinChicken's income. These helicopters could be big. I mean, picking off buildings like this is always enormous. Now valithor is starting to get some beef, so to speak, with this left side's army by putting a factory here. There's 2 factories up on the left side for KrazyFlyinChicken, so certainly you want to be able to at least have some factory units to go against the other factory units, unless you have an air advantage. I like that there's a bunch of artillery here, actually, especially since KrazyFlyinChicken saw that there's commandos coming out for valithor. It's a very scary point, because if these commandos get loose and KrazyFlyinChicken loses track of them, then stuff like this is going to happen, where valithor is going to actually start capping the backside, like taking territory away from KrazyFlyinChicken, while that helicopter survives. And this infantry is certainly dead. 1150 income for valithor. There's a little bit of a tactical pause. 1350 for KrazyFlyinChicken. So KrazyFlyinChicken is still super ahead. These helicopters are going to be huge, because this is definitely enough helicopters to overwhelm 2 SAMs, or even 3 SAMs, if they all started fighting at once. KrazyFlyinChicken, we can see what they're actually seeing here. I mean, there's enough vision to see all the commandos, but as more of the infantry die, less of the commandos can be seen. It just gets worse and worse for these infantry, who are certainly going to be taken out. Here comes the helicopter swarm. I mean, look at how quick this is. They can just hover over their targets. Now they land in random ass places since they're helicopters, so you never know where they're going to go. These 4 might be in a lot of trouble. By taking on 4 SAMs, 4 helicopters definitely can't take on 4 SAMs. But I mean, the rest of them went down to the bottom, so it's just kind of an unfortunate RNG moment. I feel like all 4 of those helicopters are going to get taken out. This is a big fight, and I think valithor's feeling like the push is happening right now. See, I like that these helicopters all decided to fight these SAMs, but unfortunately they didn't fight all as one. And with the interceptors here, all those helicopters are dead. That's a huge loss, I feel like, on the left side for valithor. It's a decent concave from KrazyFlyinChicken, who is putting down another factory. I assume, yes, it's over here on the left side. These commandos are on top of production. 2 barracks in the back for valithor. Those are going to be very annoying. I assume they're going to build commandos. This choke is a terrible place to be, but it's going to just be an artillery slugfest between both sides. valithor is out of planes, I almost want to say. It feels like there's got to be only like 3 or 4 helicopters that valithor has at this point. Another proxy barracks. These are definitely going commandos, and they certainly are. I mean, KrazyFlyinChicken can see this. They can at least see that their territory is starting to change colors. I don't think we see it on the replay, but KrazyFlyinChicken, I think, did own these territories, so they would see them change different colors even in the fog of war. In this show, KrazyFlyinChicken's doing well. I wonder if valithor is going to build more production besides even just 1 more barracks to try to get rid of all these production facilities. Really, I think the only things that valithor have going here are these commandos in the back, and these commandos in general. These 2 factories are going to be very close for KrazyFlyinChicken, because this is enough commandos that I feel like they could even just like jump on top of these buildings. Like, there's just enough of them. This is the question, whether valithor can break this position. KrazyFlyinChicken has 1,340 income. valithor is almost caught up at this point. And so I think the question becomes, can KrazyFlyinChicken defend this second base here? They're getting economy, which is really good, and then push down the left, and while also holding all of this. And with all these buildings, you know, they're not even pumping out units yet. There's no defensive lines. valithor might be able to at least kill a few of the buildings here. This is not great for valithor on this right side through this little choke. This proxy base was cleaned up. This one in the top left is still going. With interceptors that can detect commandos better, with some helicopters, KrazyFlyinChicken might be able to clean this up. Yeah, this many commandos get to just click on a building Now they're getting caught up on an attack move, so they are going to die at this point. So maybe not fully worth it by only just taking out one barracks. Valithor's now gone to strikers. So strikers, if you get like, I mean, there's no need for me to talk about like how strikers are used. Valithor definitely knows how to use them. Valithor is the godfather of strikers, but I thought at the beginning that maybe this was going to be a quicker striker switch to try to snipe some of these buildings or the airports, because I think Valithor can. Okay, so this airport can definitely get across. This frontmost one. At this point, there's so many SAMs for KrazyFlyinChicken. It's kind of a tough spot for Valithor to be in. Like, if Valithor wins this game, it's going to be because there's commando backstabbing going on. And this is great coverage from KrazyFlyinChicken. In the top left, we can see that KrazyFlyinChicken has defended that leftmost base. This is a huge artillery fight. I think KrazyFlyinChicken is going to be able to hold this, especially since there's 5 factories now that are actually very close to this battle. Valithor's building another factory. I think this is definitely the call once they see like how many production facilities are here for KrazyFlyinChicken. I mean, getting rid of this must be relatively important, right? I mean, it's essentially the heart of this base, and I see it in the top of the screen. I just haven't zoomed in on it yet. I don't know when this happened, but this is a wonderful proxy base that's happening. I mean, geez, these commanders are actually going to be able to kill at least one of the airports. So many commandos. Income-wise, Valithor has now, yeah, caught up to KrazyFlyinChicken. KrazyFlyinChicken's pushing this back. And on the right side, it's kind of feeling like it's not really a base trade because it's only 4 commandos that are behind enemy lines. I guess all of this, but KrazyFlyinChicken has so much army already here, and commandos trying to backstab this. I guess it's not really a backstab, but they do pick off a building. That's huge. What these ones also do is that they force these strikers to be here, this artillery piece to be here, instead of going up to the front to try to reinforce the actual push. On the left side, it's enough artillery that they will be able to mess with these SAMs as long as they like aren't hit by air at all. This is a great sandwich play by KrazyFlyinChicken, but the problem is KrazyFlyinChicken's lost this gas. They're going to lose this airport, and they're potentially going to lose this airport too. Like, the commandos are just doing a phenomenal job here. Definitely KrazyFlyinChicken is broken through on this side and is going to take the whole right side of the map. If KFC can hold like this position and get rid of these proxy bases, they could be in a pretty, like, they might still be able to pull this out. This is huge. 2 commandos in the back taking out a town. It's going to make it even tougher for KrazyFlyinChicken to compete economically now that Valithor has passed them. 2 more factories on the left side. This is definitely the big fight that's coming up. Look at all these commandos. I mean, holy cow. It's just too many. I guess you gotta get tanks there. Or pardon me, artillery is good, or I don't even know with this many commandos. The commandos aren't that good in a straight up fight, right? They're good at this. This one commander just killed this airport, which had no planes on it, so it's not like KrazyChicken lost a bunch of planes, but it is very expensive to lose that, especially to just one commando. 1481 income for KrazyFlyinChicken, 1316 for Valithor, so KrazyFlyinChicken is ahead again on income. I think it's really this bottom right side of the map that has turned that in KrazyFlyinChicken's favor. KrazyFlyinChicken's flavor. I mean, how did I not say that before? We're just moving commandos here, and I think this is enough commandos that... Okay, commandos don't work in a straight up fight. I thought they were going to actually roll this, which they still might. They're haste moving right on top of these artillery, which now that they're on top of the artillery, commandos do a lot of DPS, so maybe they will actually just roll through this. I'm just straight up watching this for science. I guess it is that many commandos. With helicopters coming in, KrazyFlyinChicken, I assume these helicopters were going to take off, but KrazyFlyinChicken might be out of gas. Yeah, they are. They're taking this whole right side of the map, though. I mean, this is tough. KrazyFlyinChicken can see all the commandos. And they don't take out a factory, so now I would say this is potentially not worth it for valithor. I don't know. Maybe it was to buy some time. This is a wild base setup. Like, to have this defensive line right here. This artillery, this whole army of KrazyFlyinChicken is going to be able to take out at least one of these airports. I assume KrazyFlyinChicken has quite the economy lead at this point. 1,500. And valithor, who is now in the red on economy, is making 1,304. These commandos are the last chance. This is still such a positive move for valithor and sniping this town. I mean, it's enough commandos that it might actually cause a lot of troubles for KrazyFlyinChicken. Especially when they get this army cut off, because this is a great encirclement from valithor. He's going to come in with all of these artillery pieces. So these artillery probably will get at least an airport, but then the entire army is going to get wiped out. I assume with this much artillery and infantry, they're going to be able to take that airport out. I don't think at this point KrazyFlyinChicken should be retreat moving or anything. That's a substantial amount of artillery on the left side that KFC is gearing up to go with. If this helicopter does, or this airport doesn't fall, yeah, I was going to say, I would be very impressed. KFC's going for another factory. I assume it's over here. Yes, it is. It's a lot of artillery. And I don't actually know who could win this game at this point. I think econ-wise, KrazyFlyinChicken is ahead by a decent amount. And KrazyFlyinChicken is also making more money actively. This will be very difficult for valithor to stop. Now that they've lost this other airport too. So there's not enough landing space, I think, for all of these planes. Right? No, maybe there is. I totally messed this up. But with only one airport full of strikers, like, how is valithor going to deal with all these artillery pieces? And I don't think that this push is going to immediately work either. I guess now that these airports are out, maybe this is going to work, and valithor is going to be able to just destroy this entire enclave, right? Because there's 4 commandos here, and that's enough to take out this barracks and continue to cap the middle. And these commandos are doing great. There's really nothing to defend these factories besides a bunch of SAMs. And this push is going to work. valithor seems to think this is the time to go with it. So it's just 2 big push lines right down the middle. And yeah, just planes to try to help out and chip away at this artillery and buy enough time for 300 gazillion commandos to take on the what's left. And one of the big things that's going on right now is that all this territory that valithor is taking, it's the same thing that KrazyFlyinChicken did a little bit earlier. It's eating out of the opponent's income. All those commandos, when they're capping from, they're taking from red. So your opponent's actually losing money and you're getting money at the same time. It's like a double-edged sword, or whatever. Not double-edged sword, but you know what I mean. Like it's very important to be taking money from your opponent. 1,400 income for valithor, 1,433 for KrazyFlyinChicken, so it's getting pretty close again. This is definitely enough artillery from valithor that this push is going to work. And since there's no air cover or air support to be able to deal with all this artillery from KrazyFlyinChicken, all this production is certainly dead. Just so many commandos rolling around in the back. They're taking out a helicopter here. This is an enormous amount of artillery. It's great that KrazyFlyinChicken has interceptors to deal with these strikers. But unfortunately, KrazyFlyinChicken doesn't have any strikers or helicopters to deal with all this artillery. These SAMs are definitely not going to be able to do much when the fight comes to them, when this artillery shows up. This is kind of big for KrazyFlyinChicken. I mean, the artillery sees it now. But if these commandos can maybe snipe some of those artillery, get on top of production, this is such an absurd amount of artillery, and I love it. And with the interceptor support, there's no SAMs over here on the left, so KrazyFlyinChicken definitely is doing well there. It's just a question of, can KrazyFlyinChicken lose all of this production and still come back? Because at that point, they'll need to cap the left side pretty quick to be able to keep the economies kind of close. 1384 for KrazyFlyinChicken and 1484 for valithor, and valithor is now making more money. Valithor is backing up to try to defend these barracks. Definitely the play, even with the strikers to deal with these commandos. Very good play. Definitely don't want to lose this. Clearly the intent for valithor is to capture that right side again after this. I mean, this is a matter of time. And I think a big defensive line somewhere for valithor with a bunch of planes is going to be enough to actually stop this. It is 5 strikers, so it is a lot to be dealing with all of this artillery, especially since there's no SAMs in this army for KFC. I mean, there's like 4 in the back, but they're not going to be there yet. Another barracks goes down for valithor. I wonder where it is. It sounds like it's a proxy somewhere. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm trying to look for a constructed barracks. It doesn't really matter. 5 helicopters. This whole battery of SAMs is right here. valithor sees it at this point and sends the SAMs forward. I mean, 5 helicopters with this many artillery is going to do damage, but it's not going to be able to stop this. This is just too much artillery. And there's no infantry to jump on top of it. Okay, so it is a proxy barracks. It's probably that bottom right barracks that we heard go up from valithor just now. Helicopters doing a great job on the left side. This many SAMs, and it looks like it's just kind of a cannon fodder buy time scenario while the strikers show up to try to clear it for valithor. Definitely rolling away from KrazyFlyinChicken at this point because valithor has 1600 income and these commandos are still doing work. They're actually sniping what's left of the gas for KrazyFlyinChicken, or what is a lot of the gas. I mean, it's really only these 3 refineries and energy producing stations at this point for KrazyFlyinChicken. It's just not going to be enough, especially since it's all but to die. The interceptors probably have been super clutch on this left side. Unfortunately, they can't. I mean, the amount of planes valithor's got out of here with, it's unfortunately not enough, really. And look at how many commandos there are. I mean, valithor has the whole top left of the map. Income-wise, 1253 for KrazyFlyinChicken, yes, and 1652 at this point for valithor. This is a big enough army that is going to be able to take out the bottom right and reclaim all of it. I think here comes the strikers anytime now for valithor. I mean, really, valithor just doesn't want to allow this whole army to get even here, right? So it's not like they need to crush this army right now. They just need to do it before it destroys any infrastructure. But this is so big. I mean, that was 5 factories that we talked about earlier. There were 3 power plants or something and 1 refinery. valithor is building 2 more airports. This is certainly the move to make at this point with such an economy. 2 interceptors, 3rd one on the way. Against this many strikers, we can see how this kind of goes down. I mean, 4 strikers are going to be able to do a decent amount of damage to all this artillery. It's just that the interceptors are going to shoot them down. I want to say relatively quickly. It's almost 1-to-1 interceptor striker. Certainly at least 1 more plane going down for valithor. I'd be very surprised if not. Alright, color me unbelievably surprised. The next time these strikers launch, they'll probably be able to clean this up almost. It's a full 5 thing of strikers. Well, maybe not. Maybe with the interceptors it's fine. I mean, valithor is going to be able to divert all of this to the left or to the right, depending on where this army needs to be at this point. And with all this scouting, I mean, it really is indirect scouting that valithor gets by having all these commandos everywhere. I mean, we can look at the vision of valithor at this point. Knows where the army is, where the army isn't. For KrazyFlyinChicken, it really just feels like it's everything here. I mean, KrazyFlyinChicken's had to relocate the entire base. And still no production buildings going down for valithor. Here comes the strikers again. The interceptors get scrambled. Let's see where they're going. Probably this exact spot exactly to deal with these strikers. There's no gas at this point for KrazyFlyinChicken besides these 2 power plants. Unless I'm seeing this wrong. Commandos in the forest continue to just do tons of damage. And now we can see the numbers are going to start shifting for valithor because this army is going to slowly get over to the left side. This is a lot of artillery, but as time goes on, valithors are going to have way more units. Just way more. These interceptors are clutch though. And plus they look really cool. Let's not forget that they look very cool. Oh my gosh, another plane gets out. It's too much artillery. KrazyFlyinChicken is going to back up. I mean, backing up at this point is the end of the game because income-wise, it's just not going to be able to turn around, really. I mean, the bottom right... This is enough barracks. I like that KrazyFlyinChicken is going for more barracks, though. I wonder where it is. It must be somewhere to try... Yeah, it's right here. To try to reclaim all this territory. Although valithor's commandos are going to be able to snipe that barracks. And now the tables have turned. And really, I mean, KrazyFlyinChicken would have to start defending. But KrazyFlyinChicken can't. Because of the money. The amount of times I've said KrazyFlyinChicken. 1150 income for KrazyFlyinChicken, 1800 for valithor. A bunch of barracks going down. It's probably in some, like, I feel like it's probably proxied. I guess it's on the bottom. I don't know where it is. valithor's building barracks somewhere. That's how sneaky it is, though. I have no idea where they're gonna... Yeah, top right. Top right. This is definitely one. That field on the right. That's the danger of commandos, though. Because I wasn't even really paying attention, like the top right. Are those the first commandos that got by? Potentially. With 3 airports now, it doesn't really matter how many interceptors... I mean, it does matter. If KrazyFlyinChicken had, you know, twice as many interceptors as strikers, it would matter. But really, pacing-wise, valithor is going to have 3 airports that can pump out strikers. If 3 airports of strikers versus 1 airports of interceptors, you'll happily launch that directly into the interceptors all day with this income difference. So if someone asked you, oh, is Line War still Artie Sam? I mean, I see a Sam. I guess we have 5 on this side. This is the counter push time. This is when valithor has enough money. These 3 barracks are gonna do tons of damage. Industry for valithor, these 2 farms. It's 3 barracks here, but the problem about those barracks is that valithor can just click on them with planes. KrazyFlyinChicken backing up, it is the play to make. And kind of reclaiming some of this territory in the center, which is actually huge. It's definitely the thing that KrazyFlyinChicken needs to do to get back into the game, is reclaim the territory. Because income-wise, it's not looking great. And army-wise, this is horrible. Like, there's no way that valithor's army is smaller, especially on the ground. valithor's upkeep cost per minute on land units is almost 500. KrazyFlyinChicken's is almost 300, so it's 200 more minerals or like upkeep per minute of land units than KFC. Like that's enormous. So there's no way KFC's gonna be able to hold this. I mean, maybe by going for full defensive lines everywhere, but unless KFC's winning somewhere else, but Kentucky, or pardon me, jeez, KrazyFlyinChicken is not. I mean, this is kind of winning, but again, there's so many planes that valithor will be able to take that side again. And now we just watched artillery bump into artillery. So this is now 3 airports worth of strikers. Here we go on first pass. How many planes do they get? The interceptors get scrambled right now. I wonder if valithor will stay here with the planes even when interceptors are fighting. It's like, what, 4 artillery pieces and 2 or 3 SAMs or something? Although 1 striker is going to go down. The interceptors are haste moved, so they will, I mean, be able to clean this up relatively quickly. They'll maybe get 1 more plane. There we go, 1 more plane for KrazyFlyinChicken. But this is the answer for how much artillery you need to end a game. This push alone, I think valithor is going to be able to pull this off. Commandos in the back. The SAMs will do a good job to fight this off. They might even repel this whole attack, but it's certainly not going to hold up for a long time. I mean, if this many infantry started moving, they'd probably be able to start capping everything on the right anyway. KrazyFlyinChicken at 1121 income. valithor at just over 1900. Here's the first airstrip. The airstrip is now in range of KrazyFlyinChicken, their entire base. And valithor knows what buildings are here. So pretty soon I'd assume those strikers are just going to start clicking down buildings. Here comes the town. Presumably this other industry relatively quickly, and valithor would be able to defend this on the bottom. A city is worth 10 territories worth of income. Yeah, the SAMs definitely are able to hold this push, but it's not like it feels great. And here comes valithor, clicking on buildings. Haste move, take out a building. The SAMs will probably try to react, but then valithor will just go somewhere else with the planes. And even the way, so like these interceptors, when they get up in the air, they might be able to do something against these planes. Maybe get 1. Although I wonder, maybe if KrazyFlyinChicken set the command out here and haste moved it, maybe the planes would follow more. I guess they kind of did. At least 3 of them did. So that plane definitely goes down for 1 striker for 1 barracks. I still think that is worth it for valithor. Here comes the counter push. But economy-wise, this is certainly over. Even with these commandos, I mean, it's big. Like, I mean, this is good, but it's just the moment is past. The momentum's gone, and all the production is about to get taken out for KrazyFlyinChicken. So GG, very good game from both players. Shows you the power of commandos and how slippery they can be. Wild game. I feel like it was probably very uncomfortable to try to defend this. I know I would be very uncomfortable trying to defend this little... It always sucks when you do kind of like a cross the water spawn pick and then half your base is way too close to the opponent. Kind of a tense moment all game. But very good game. I'll say it now. You know what? I hope you enjoyed it. Check out the Line War Discord if you want to come talk to other folks about the game. Go check out Twitch. There's folks who stream on Twitch. Follow the category. Come say hi. What's up? I hope you have a great night, day, evening, whatever it is for you. We'll see you around. Peace. Enjoy.